Oh, so this video depicts sexual abuse, ancestral abuse, miscarriages, well, a miscarriage as well. I think that's it. My point is adult topics, and if those things are sensitive to you, or you feel as though you can't hear about those things, then I would suggest not watching this video. So, I was actually reading a book about, it was like called Sexual Abuse and the After Effects on Women, right? And it was talking about ritual abuse, which is like abuse that happens that usually is like people that are in cults do like sacrifices that, like using kids for like blood covenants, do sexual abuse. And it was saying that if you went through that type of abuse, then it's possible that you may have seen these type of things. And then I was like, okay. And I was processing that. And then I realized that it's like a whole bunch of stuff started making sense. It was like God, like, it's like when your mind is fragmented and then you get like a puzzle piece of the piece, and then it's like they'll like come together and they'll be like, and they'll like converge together, and then you're like, oh, that makes sense. So basically, I realized that when I was 11 that I was pregnant because, and this video is also going to depict like blood warning. So I remember when I was 11 that I like flushed the toilet and I saw blood in it, and it was like a chunk of something in there. And then as an adult, I always be like terrified of going to the restroom, and I thought it was because like my dad used to attack me in the bathroom, but that wasn't it. It was literally because like I had a miscarriage when I was 11, and then I just kept seeing it for years and years and years, and I didn't really recognize, like I recognized that it was a child, but I didn't recognize that, like, I didn't remember. Excuse me. Not like I didn't like I remembered it, but I didn't like understand that I was pregnant until this year. Cause I remember that I got really big around that time, and then after that happened, like seeing the stuff in the bathroom, I stopped eating. I got really skinny again. Also developed a fear of the bathroom and seeing dead children in the bathroom. And I also got really fixated on pregnancy. And I thought it was because of like sexual abuse, but I realized it was because I got pregnant, and I think I knew that I was, but I don't think my personalities really retained that information, and then I don't think I understood it until reading the book. And then also I realized why I felt like I was always very sad around kids and very, yeah, I was empty. And I felt frustrated and irritated when I was around people, not when I was around people's kids, but like when I would see kids, I would be really sad. And I couldn't understand why. And then when I actually understood that one, I was 11, and then if the child, oh, and then also when stuff would happen, like one time somebody tried to break into our car when I was in the car, and then I would have dreams about like the kids that I would have. And I remember that one was always really older, and then I was like, oh, maybe there's just like an age gap, that's why it is. But it's not. It's because the first child died. And then another thing that was hard to process, first child died significantly between the age gap of the three kids, or the kids in general. And then it's also hard because when I was 11, I was abused by my dad, his siblings, and then I was also group assaulted when I was around the age 2. And then I also realized if they lived, then they would be 19 and I would have a 19-year-old. And then also sad because it's like I experienced a child at 11, but I was also forced to be in an interaction where I could even have a pregnancy at 11. And then also, if they were alive, I potentially could have had a child with my uncle. So it's really hard to process. And then, but it also helped alleviate the fear of the bathroom and realizing where it came from. It also put me in a grieving moment for a while, because I didn't know. And then I just got really sad. And then once I realized like the 19-year-old thing, or that technically I am a parent, which is crazy, but they're not physically here, was hard. Because I know, and then the thought of me being pregnant at 11 in a household that's abusive was also scary and hard too. Because like they would either stomp me out or I would have been homeless at 11, pregnant, and probably sex trafficked again. So it's complex and confusing, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, God, I cannot handle this. Like, I don't understand. Like, if the child would have lived, or how I'm supposed to process that this child died. And I just cried out, and God really took away the pain of that and took away, the fear of seeing kids, or the fear of seeing someone pregnant, or just like the feeling of just the grieving and the loss and the confusion and the fear and the processing being pregnant at 11, because I figured I didn't know I was until after they died, and then didn't realize it until I was 30. So yeah, I'm just thankful that I can, have a God to go to, and I don't always understand, but still thankful. and can still say, God, I proudly, honestly, wouldn't have wanted kids unless that happened. So I was thankful that I got to experience that even briefly, and they got to experience me briefly. So I don't know why sometimes that we go through things, but I think it's a testimony to Christ that, we're able to go through tough things so that we can help other people that go through tough things. And I just pray that, that God helps everybody do their grieving, whether that's a loss of a child or a family member or a relationship that you weren't able to experience for a long point of time, or you were able to experience it and then it stopped. So I thank God for allowing me to have that moment, even if it hurt and I forgot and then remembered and then grieve and then sad and then everything else. I'm very thankful for the experience, and I'm very thankful to be able to tell you guys about my experience. And I just pray for clarity and for us to remember and for us each to grieve the way we need to grieve, and to just be the people God needs us to be. Because if I wasn't able to accept this, then I would not be alright, and I just wouldn't know why. But now I know why. Now I can talk about it, and now I can deal with it the way I need to deal with it and move on. And my kids in heaven, God's taking care of them. They got to meet me briefly. That's cool. Should I have been pregnant at 11? No, but that's my story. And I still feel very thankful and grateful to be alive and to be able to talk about stuff. So God bless you.